Hello, friends, and welcome to the Weekend Catch Up Club, the coffee morning show brought to you live every Saturday direct to Facebook and available later on demand at youtube.com/gamertagged. Joining me again today is my great friend, Liban Ali. How are you, buddy?
I'm doing well. Good morning, everyone.
We have a great show planned. There's been a lot of news hitting just in the past couple of days.
A lot of news. Well, more like just last night or the night before. I'm not sure. I'm blanking out right now.
Yeah,
It all happened at once. Yeah.
I think it was Thursday night. I think it
Thursday
was
night.
roughly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Thursday night. Yeah, Thursday night. Yeah.
And we are, of course, talking about the Game Awards, which broadcast, and it was about 3 hours, 3.5 hours long. And there was obviously awards given out for the best games of the years, best sound direction, all that kind of stuff, which we'll probably talk about. But there was a lot of reveals, and that is like
Yes.
the real thing that we want to dive into. So, what was the big things for you, Liban, that like those hype moments that you weren't expecting?
Okay. For me, a lot of my energy happened in the first half of the show, as you mentioned, because it was so long.
Yeah,
Um, I think
flagging a bit at the
seeing,
end.
yeah, I think seeing things like Sephiroth coming to Smash, that was like, whoa, what? It's
Yeah.
Sephiroth, Perfect Dark showing up out of nowhere. That
Oh
was
man.
pretty crazy.
Yeah.
And just other kind of games that kind of really stood out to me throughout the show. Like there was one game called Season. I'm not sure if it's a PlayStation exclusive. Had a really beautiful art style.
Mm.
Um, I think the show overall itself was pretty good. It could have been a
Yeah.
bit shorter, personally,
Sure. Yeah.
but there was some great stuff in there.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And oh my God, what a hype moment it was when Perfect Dark was finally revealed
So
and
hype.
and
Yeah.
shown. But we're gonna share. I'm gonna share my screen in a minute, and we're gonna do the reveal of Sephiroth. So you're a big Smash man. I don't
Yes.
really play Smash at all, so I'm gonna let you take the floor and tell the viewers all about Sephiroth joining Smash Brothers.
So it's similar to, let's say, when Cloud joined Smash. That was quite big. It's one of those characters you just don't expect to ever be in the game. You usually just think, oh, because it belongs to X, Y, or Z company, there's too many legal things involved, too much paperwork, basically, to get that character into the game. So having Cloud in the game to begin with was actually a miracle already.
Right.
And having Sephiroth, especially after Final Fantasy VII Remake, bringing that character back to the forefront, um, that's what made it so hype, and that's why so many people find it so important that Sephiroth's in there. Because I don't recall this character ever actually being brought up in terms of character lists, the kind of people or the kind of characters other people want in the game in
Yeah.
general. But this is so hype, man. This is so hype.
It's really really cool, and it's actually really cool timing as well because Final Fantasy VII Remake obviously released this year in 2020, although it feels like it was released about 5 years ago because 2020 has been such a horrible long year,
Yeah.
and they're obviously capitalizing on. Well, I mean, Final Fantasy VII has always been popular, of course, but to add that now this year into the roster, I think is really timely, and it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. His moveset looks incredible, I have to say.
Yeah.
Like these
Yeah, absolutely.
ultimate moves and
He's got the longest sword I've seen in the game. It's huge. Like he stabbed the stage to get back onto it. Who does that? Like,
you think that's going to be like a major tactical advantage? I think it's got to be.
especially if you get knocked off, yeah. Like getting back onto the stage, that
Yeah.
will be a big thing for especially people who pick him up as pro players.
Yeah.
But I think just the character in general as well. Like Sephiroth is really popular. Um, Generally with these sort of video games, you have characters that are popular in different regions, but this is an instance where an antagonist is just as popular as the protagonist as well.
Right.
So even I was looking at like how other regions were responding to it, and they were just going just as crazy as
Yeah.
everywhere else. That just shows how popular Sephiroth is. So I'm surprised they kept this under wraps so tightly because I had no idea.
Yeah. Yeah. Because you were expecting a Smash character reveal, right?
Yes.
Before the show, but obviously we weren't sure as to like who that would be. Just out of curiosity, who were you hoping it would be? Like who would the reveal be? Like your dream kind of character inclusion for Smash?
Oh, that's a good one.
Putting you on the spot.
Because for the longest time, I wanted Banjo in there because that just made the most sense.
Yeah.
It's like Banjo, yeah, fair enough, not anymore, but Banjo started on Nintendo, with Banjo Kazooie, and then that happened. Um, for some reason, a lot of people think Goku's gonna be in Smash, which
Oh,
yeah, and I keep
okay.
like trying to help them understand that it's not gonna happen. Um, two reasons, because I think what they're trying to do here, especially, is that the Smash characters they want to include generally came up as a video game character first before moving into any other
Mm,
media. So like, yeah, you had
okay.
Cloud through Final Fantasy VII. Yeah, then they got their own film, Advent Children, all of that stuff, etc. I think that's probably the main reason why you're probably never going to see a character like Goku. But people keep hoping every time they see a reveal that it's going to be Goku. But
You know, that would be amazing actually, because Dragon Ball Fighters is an incredible 2D fighting game, and visually it's
yeah,
just incredible. And to
mhm,
see maybe those characters coming into to Smash as maybe like a special pack where it's like maybe 4 Dragon Ball Fighters coming in,
mhm.
that would be incredible.
Yeah, the Ginyu Force, that would be great.
Oh,
Yeah,
oh,
to have them in
got me thinking and dreaming now. Exactly, yeah.
I
Jeez.
mean, to be fair, you never know. I'm only just basing this off what they mentioned in interviews and things like that,
Hmm.
where they mentioned obviously that if the character didn't start in a video game, then it's probably not going to end up in Smash.
Yeah,
Um, but then again, you never know. They keep surprising us. Joker got into the game of all characters. That's a PlayStation character first and
yeah,
foremost, through and
yeah,
through.
exactly.
So you just don't know with Smash anymore. It's hard to predict anything now. It's so out there. They
I
just
know, I
and,
know.
and that's the coolest thing about it. I think that's what keeps it so fresh and so hype. Is
Yeah.
because you just don't know who it's going to be.
We've got Callum in the chat saying Sephiroth and Cloud is a legendary rivalry. It's as iconic as the Smash series itself.
Agreed. I agree with that. It's huge. It's huge. The impact Final Fantasy VII has on the Final Fantasy series as a whole cannot be understated.
Yeah, yeah.
Especially the relationship between Cloud and Sephiroth and their story and how things play out. It's very deep. It's very intricate. So again, I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised at all.
That's wild, isn't it? I mean, I'm not a
So
Smash guy, but I'm kind of excited to see this play out. I'm pretty sure that when Evo, if it does eventually come back and Smash
yeah,
returns to that competition as well, it's going to be pretty spectacular. And yeah, I just can't wait to see all of this kind of play out. And
yeah.
maybe I will eventually get into Smash Brothers. I don't know, but hopefully.
Yeah. So Callum mentions the part in the trailer where he impales Mario had me laughing. That cracked me up. It's funny because I checked out. It's funny Callum mentions that I checked out a bunch of other creators seeing the trailer. As soon as they saw that one moment, they just absolutely freaked out. Like, oh my god, Nintendo killed Mario! What's happening?
I
I
know, I
can't believe
know.
they did this, and then the fake out. Like, it's like Nintendo's not going to do that.
It's
Obviously,
brilliant.
poor
I know.
Mario. Poor Mario, and a lot of these big reveals for new characters, um, especially when they have these CG trailers. Mario gets hurt, one reason or another. It happened with Ridley.
Yeah, yeah, it's so
it
true.
happens. It happens all the time. Yeah, but great stuff from them. Like Sephiroth. Sephiroth is one of those characters who deserve that kind of introduction, who
Yeah.
deserve that full-on CG trailer. And I think it's what makes it so hype as well. It's because we had other characters before. Is that maybe because some of the other characters that came before Sephiroth, like the last two or three, weren't as exciting, I guess. Well, for me personally, like Minecraft Steve, and I think the
Sure.
last the last season pack they added another Fire Emblem character as the last character on the season pass, which people weren't so happy about. So this is, I think, this adds to the hype as well. It's like, wow, finally, really cool character. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. It's pretty awesome. So the
so awesome.
next big reveal, which I think had you, myself, and my buddy Sean, and millions of people around the world getting insanely hyped for, and it was, of course, the long gestating Perfect
Hmm.
Dark, the return of Perfect Dark, man.
Yes,
This
it's back.
was, oh my god. Let's get the trailer rolling here. because I can't believe that I was dreaming and hoping that Perfect Dark would get a reboot, but like who was going to make it, when was it going to come, and what is it gonna like? What are they going to do with it to modernize
Yeah.
it? Because it is such a beloved first-person shooter. Originally, of course, by Rare, the British developers who did GoldenEye, the like legendary GoldenEye. But honestly, for me, Perfect Dark is like it trumps GoldenEye significantly in what it does for what it did for the N64. I got a like a remake, not a remake, a bit of an upscale remaster on the Xbox 360. You could get that on Live Arcade at the time, and but there was nothing for years, and then they did the launch title of Perfect Dark Zero, which was a bit poo, to say
Yeah.
the least. And then everybody thought the series is dead. Like it's just there's no coming back from that.
Yeah.
And now finally we get this trailer. And I honestly thought it was something to do with like Abstergo, Assassin's Creed modern day stuff with the architecture and stuff. It was
Yeah.
or like a Tom Clancy game. I was super thrown by what it is. And then of course it was like the reveal of Joanna Dark at the end, and it was like hype moment like crazy. So yeah, how hyped for you? How hyped are you for Perfect Dark?
Yeah, super hype. The game deserves to come back. You know, a lot of these developers, obviously, games can have missteps. It's happened to so many series, even legendary series now that are still going. Um, and one misstep shouldn't define how
Yeah.
big of a deal Perfect Dark is. You know, so it was this moment here that I know that I clocked on. It was Perfect Dark.
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
like, "What? Perfect Dark? What? Xbox? Xbox?" Like, but it's a huge deal, you know. Like as you
Yeah.
mentioned, just as many people that put GoldenEye on a pedestal,
Yeah.
just as many or even more have Perfect Dark as one of their best shooters of all time.
Yeah.
Um, so I'm incredibly happy to see it back. I think they learned their lessons for what they did with Zero,
Yeah.
and I see this being a really good game if they could get the formula correct this time.
I hope so. I really hope so. I almost want it to take like a Deus Ex sort of like vibe to it. So it stays first person.
Mm,
Whether they retain the third person cover thing, I don't really know. I'm not that precious about that. It worked really
yeah,
well in Deus Ex Human Revolution and Mankind Divided,
yeah,
but
hmm
they tried to do that with Perfect Dark Zero, and it didn't work at all because the cover systems then they hadn't really worked out how to do a cover system. You know, remember this is way before Gears of War had
yeah.
popularized cover systems in games, and certainly not first person cover systems. So I don't really mind that, but I'm playing Cyberpunk, which we're going to get into in a big way later on in the show. And they have a kind of cover system which works where it keeps you entirely first person, and it works brilliantly, like really, really well.
hmm
So I'm really curious as to how, like, where they take this. If they keep it first person, do they make it a third person game, like a third person adventure game, like an Uncharted, but in this kind of cyberpunk world? I really don't know. It could go in any direction. I hope that they keep it first person because it's always been a first person game. But
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah,
I'm excited for where they could take the sci-fi future tech stuff, the cyber thriller tone. Is there going to be gadgets and like the return of all the classic stuff as well? And I'm really hoping for, and I'm going to stop rambling in a wee second. So in the original Perfect Dark, the different difficulty settings had they expanded out the objectives of what you could do in the mission to complete it.
yeah.
I really hope they retain that stuff as well, because that would just be phenomenal.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm just going off what they showed off here, I mean, I know it's like a cinematic trailer, but you know, they showed a lot of environmental pieces. They showed like, look, we might go to space at some point, so this is pretty cool, right? You just never know. I think they might be trying to do something open world. I'm not sure. I'm just basing this off, you know, they're going through this city, this environment. You have all these different buildings. So I think that's where your mission structure could possibly come in
Yeah,
at some
yeah,
point. But I think the biggest thing here is that they're trying to they have like a huge map now. You can explore this map as much as you want. There's a lot of missions going on all over the map. You'll have your main objectives, your side objectives as well. Um, But so far, I mean, so far it's looking great. And until they come out with a bit more information, we can only hope it's
Yeah,
going to be great. Yeah, we can
totally.
only hope it's going to be great. But I think, you know, as I mentioned earlier, I think they really did learn their lessons, and they're going to be really careful with this one. And you know, all good games take time, so hopefully
Yeah.
they take their time with it, not to get pressured by anything, and just put out the best product they can.
I couldn't agree more, buddy. I couldn't agree more. So
Mm.
the chat is lit at the moment. So Callum is saying it's a revival of the old rare titles. So Battletoads is back, 100%. Perfect Dark is now back. But what's next? Could we get a Conquer game, or could we get a new Banjo Kazooie game? I would be up for either of those. I
Yeah,
think I
I'll
think
be so
Xbox
happy
is,
for it.
yeah, I think Xbox is really lacking a really good like mascot platformer.
Mhm.
The PlayStation 5 launched and it had Astrobot, which is phenomenal. It's become a bit of a mascot for the PlayStation brand. But don't forget, Sackboy's Big Adventure is just wonderful as well. And of
Yeah,
course, Ratchet and Clank, the new one, is coming out early next year and it looks just
yeah,
freaking amazing. So for
yeah.
me, if they bring back Conquer, if they bring back Banjo Kazooie, Microsoft are in a huge position now with having these mascot franchises, which are so beloved and can open up a whole new audience as well that want, like, where's my Ratchet and Clank on Xbox? Where's my Sackboy on Xbox? And they've got the franchises there. So I'd love to see a Banjo come back and a Conquer.
Yeah, it's like it's actually. I remember discussing this with someone. Like when I saw this not Rainbow, excuse me, Perfect Dark um, reveal, I was thinking that exact thing. I was like, you know, Xbox, they have all these studios, right,
Yeah.
that are now making these games. Like this is where it kind of begins for them, the long play, you know,
Yeah.
of these big, like hopefully first party titles that would really like uplift their system.
Yeah.
Um, so, but would I like to see another Banjo? Absolutely. Would I like to see a Conkers? Hell yeah. Why not? But I agree. They do need a mascot. I mean, could Joanna Dark be that mascot? Maybe.
Yeah. Yeah.
You just never know. I would like to think obviously Master Chief is their mascot currently.
Yeah, yeah. Well,
Yeah, at this
if
moment
you
in time,
think
yeah.
about PlayStation, for the longest time, Solid Snake was the mascot of
Yeah.
PlayStation, PS1, PS2, with Metal Gear 1 and 2. So Joanna Dark could be like their Solid Snake.
Yeah, absolutely. Like if they just play it right, you know, anything that went down in terms of yeah, Xbox has games where they don't have any like first party stuff or exclusives, that goes completely out the window. And this absolutely proves that, you know, come maybe the end of 2020, not 2020, excuse me, and towards the end of 2021, start of 2022, they'll have like a library of these like big games
Yeah.
that like, yeah, these are for Xbox. You know, you can only play these on Xbox and they'll be back in it because they already have
It's
a
gonna be
huge
wild.
games library. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
the
yeah.
future's looking bright for them. It's looking real bright.
Yeah, it absolutely is. So, next one I think was we're going to be talking about Arc 2. Okay.
Yes,
Now,
yes.
talk about. I mean, this trailer. I was watching it. Sean and I were obviously watching it live on the Sold Out's official Twitch channel. We were doing the live thing, and we were talking about what the hell is this. We went round in so many circles trying to work out what this game is going to be. We're first of all, as soon as we saw Vin Diesel, we're obviously doing the jokey thing. Oh, it's the Fast and the Furious. You know, it's the Fast and the Furious go back in time. It's like
Yeah.
that. And then we're thinking, oh, is it a new Chronicles of Riddick game? But when he goes full tribal. And I thought,
Yeah.
man, that would be awesome if it was the
That'd be
Chronicles of
pretty
Riddick.
wild.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we were like, okay, are they rebooting Turok Dinosaur Hunter? But they've cast like Vin Diesel as Turok. And I thought, oh my god, like what could this be? What could this be? And then I was a little bit disappointed when it turned out to just be Ark. But hey, it
Just
looks
be Ark,
it
yeah.
looks insane. And I know I don't even know if this is game engine or if this is just a cinematic trailer. But I've got to admit, as trailer reviews go, I think this is one of the most hype bonkers things I saw at the Game Awards.
Yeah, like I think people were just expecting, you know, because Vin has his own game studio. I don't know if he still does actually. So I assumed, okay, maybe it's a game from his studio. that
Yeah.
they're announcing now, because they haven't done anything in quite a while. And then to see Arc at the end, I was just like, wait, what? It's like, I'm not sure if they just wanted like a big name
Yeah.
to push the franchise forward. Because
Maybe.
Arc already did so well. Yeah, like Arc on its own is a great game. Like it doesn't need necessarily Vin Diesel to be like, yes, like this is a game you should definitely play. Like the game can do that on its own. But I think having a marquee name doesn't help. Especially to push your marketing if that's what they're going for here, which I'm not 100% sure, because I'm not sure if they're trying to do. They're trying to show off something that's a bit more
Yeah.
delved into a story based, maybe,
Could be.
where
They
you're
could
like
be.
going through an actual narrative, like a full on narrative this time, because at one point in the trailer, it shows Vin going to a cave and he's looking at I'm assuming some technology from a ship that he crashed. It sounds like he crash landed here.
Yeah.
And he joined this tribe, and that could be the direction they're going. But it was when Jeff Keighley was just like, it's unexpected. Like he wasn't kidding. Like
It's so true. I mean, I would love it to be like just a single player Arc type of game. So it's
Yeah.
like the Horizon Zero Dawn, but maybe in the Arc universe or something like that.
Possibly, yeah.
But you raise a really good point about casting Vin Diesel from a marketing context. Is he a big enough draw, like in the games industry, to say for gamers to say, "Oh man, I wasn't really looking at this, but fuck me, now that Vin Diesel's in this game, I'm going to check it out." It's not like he has the cachet of a Nolan North or a Troy Baker to really like say this is like premier prestige voice talent coming into like this game that you cast for these lead roles. Saying that, obviously he's a big box office draw. He's super popular with the Fast and Furious series, with Groot in Guardians of the Galaxy. So it is cool to see like mega talent from Hollywood coming in and doing like the cast of characters for video games, of course, but I don't know how I feel about it. It's a bit weird. It's not a big enough draw to make me go out and buy the game just because he's in it.
No, I absolutely
cool.
agree. Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. I think maybe they were looking to possibly those who are interested, those who already like Arc, are gonna watch this and try to get invested. Those who like Vin Diesel from his Hollywood work will probably watch it and be like, just because Vin Diesel's in it.
Yeah.
And maybe that's just a chance for them to kind of expand their audience, get some new eyes on it. Because for some people, that'll be reason enough. Oh, Vin Diesel's in this new trailer. It's for a thing. I'm going to check it out because I like Vin Diesel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Basically.
crazy stuff. But
It was a surprise. Yeah. It's quite a surprise. Yeah.
It really was.
Just seeing Vin, just hunting.
I mean, out of all the trailers that got shown at the Game Awards, I think maybe that was like the most emotion-filled roller coaster, because I was thinking, is this like some kind of tie-in with Horizon Forbidden West, where he is a starring character? Or is it Turok? Or is it like something else? It's like, what on earth is this? And of course it turned out to be Ark, and it's certainly got attention, right? It's got everybody's interest now, for sure.
Yeah.
So I think all eyes are going to be on, like, okay, what else have you got, Ark? Is it more the MMO thing? Is it a single player game? What the heck is it? Just give us more and tell us. Just give us all the deets.
I just feel like you don't get a big like box office star into a game unless you're doing some sort of campaign that's surrounded around them.
Totally.
I'm sure they'll still keep the parts that people love about Ark as a separate thing. But I would love to see that. I would love to see where they go from it.
Yeah, I would as well. So the next one that I want to talk a little bit about as well is it's an MMO, okay? And I'm usually just not the MMO guy at all, but this looked impossibly good, and it's called Crimson Desert.
Crimson Desert, yes.
And it made me think: is this some kind of spin-off or similar universe to Black Desert Online, or is it totally different? And I've no idea if it's totally different or standalone, or if it's connected in any way, or if it's just its own thing. But this looked absolutely phenomenal.
It did. It looked impossibly good. I wasn't actually. I thought that maybe I was just looking at a cinematic,
Yeah,
but no, it's the
yeah,
actual game.
yeah.
Yeah.
Because this
So
all this photorealism stuff that we're seeing of the world makes me think, okay, this is just like this is what we're aiming for, but when it comes out, it's going to be like potato mode for an MMO, because MMOs never look this good.
oh no,
They just don't. It's impossible
they
for them
don't.
to ever look this good.
I'm
And it
sure
made
it's
me,
running on some sort of like
oh God,
beefy, out of this world, maybe alien tech PC.
yeah, yeah. I mean,
Because
maybe it's tapping the Azure data stacks that Flight Simulator uses or something like that, right?
God, maybe just in a smaller space compared to Flight Simulator, it's possible. Yeah, it's absolutely possible.
Yeah,
But no, the game looks absolutely incredible. Like environments, look at that, look at that.
I know,
Like,
man.
look, I don't. I mean,
Look at the
Black Desert
leaves
itself.
blowing. And before
Ah,
the name came up, because at this point in the reveal, we have no idea what this is, and I'm thinking, Christ, is this Dragon's Dogma 2? You know, that's what I was thinking. I thought, if this is
it
Dragon's Dogma
could.
2, it looks sensational. And then it turned out to be an MMO, of course. But it also made me think, man, I don't need an MMO like this. I want this to be like a 4-player co-op game, like a Skyrim, like a Dragon's Dogma. Keep it single player, huge open world, but drop in, drop out, 4-player co-op. That is what I want. I don't want an MMO. But this looks so
Yeah.
good.
It looks incredible. I think so. It's apparently a sort of sequel to Black Desert. So it has elements of narrative driven single player stuff.
Yeah.
But it's got all online multiplayer functionality as well in there. But in terms of visual spectacle, it's probably the best one I've seen at the
I mean,
Game Awards.
look at this. Look at how intense and responsive this combat looks.
It looks intense. It looks super intense. I mean, it's just like even the field of view, like all the way into the distance,
Yeah.
is so much that you can still see.
Yeah.
It's impossible. This is fake. I don't believe it now. Like, now that we think about it, now that we're talking about it, I don't believe it's real.
That's what's got me so worried, man. I'm thinking this. No, it's never going to look like this when it comes out. It's going to look awful. I mean, I played Ark on the Xbox One, and I saw trailers of that game. I saw high resolution screenshots of that game, and when I played it on the Xbox One, it looked like fucking potato mode. It was horrible.
Yeah.
And so I'm so skeptical about this, and it just looks so perfect at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, if this is running on the Series X, then props, man. Or like
Yeah.
that, if it's on because I think Black Desert is on console, correct? Is that correct?
Yes, it is. It's on the Xbox One. Yeah, I don't know if it's
Xbox One,
been
yeah.
I don't know if it's been upgraded or anything for the Series X just yet. But yeah, I mean, Black Desert is a funny one because I tried it out on my One X, I think earlier this year, and so visually it's pretty cool, but it is so buggy and it is so laggy like crazy.
Yeah.
So the potential was definitely there, but this just looks insane. Like, I mean, I don't know. I can't. My mind is blown looking at this to
Can't
say, okay,
comprehend how this is even real, which I don't blame you. Like even even the hardcore of us would have to be skeptical.
yeah,
Like to think that this is like even parts of the trailer was lagging, obviously
yeah,
just because the game's not finished or it's not ready to go. But
yeah,
it's just one of those instances where it just looks too good to be true. But you deep down you want it to be true.
yeah,
You want these games to be able to push the envelope like this and
100%.
look as good as this and play as good as this. Until they show some more, we're not gonna know. But as a first look, it's a 10 out of 10. It looks like a 10 out of 10.
Doesn't it? I mean,
Easy 10 out of 10.
the thing is, like, even like Final Fantasy 14 doesn't look this good, and that is
No.
by all metrics, Final Fantasy 14 is probably one of the best MMOs out there at the moment. And
Yes.
its cinematic presentation is I haven't played it, but I think it's like really high end polished cinematics. But the actual game engine, the gameplay parts, doesn't look anything like this. You know?
No.
So
No, not even close. I mean, to be fair, a while back they showed us stuff on the Unreal 5, right?
yeah,
So Unreal 5 looked similar to the stuff they showed. Looks similar to what I'm looking at right now.
yeah,
So that's where it kind of makes me want to believe that if this is the kind of tech they're running it on,
Yeah.
then it's very possible that this is what the game is actually going to look like, just based on the tech demo they showed us. Because that Unreal 5 tech demo was incredible as well. Like
Yeah.
no one wanted to believe that,
Yeah.
but that's real. So that's what makes me want to believe that this will be the same thing. I hope so, because if it is, like, guaranteed, we're jumping in. Like, we're gonna jump in. Guaranteed, we're getting on that game. Like, we're not gonna leave that alone. It looks too great.
It's insane. Yeah, I think if this comes out, and it said at the end of the trailer there, winter 2021, so you know it's going to be next gen only. It has to be.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think
next
this,
gen.
like, I think everybody's going to want to dive in and test this out and try and break it as much as they can with like server traffic and everything.
Oh god, that would be another thing. Like things trying to load up, textures popping in. Yeah, they're gonna have to figure out a lot of things to make it a smooth experience.
Yeah. Wild, just absolutely wild. I mean, I just want to watch this again. I'm just like, my jaw's on the table here. Look at this. I mean,
I just don't get it. Like
that's the thing. I mean, these
How?
vistas look better than Red Dead 2.
yeah,
But this is an MMO.
yeah, like
like, come on.
like you have this whole. It's not even like contained. Well, I'm assuming not contained areas. Like you could travel around this world that they created. So it's they must have figured out some sort of wizardry to make
They
it
have
all
to.
work.
Yeah, they totally have to. It's
Whether
crazy.
you're loading into certain parts of the game or whether they figured out some sort of wizardry to make this all happen, to put it together. I'll be waiting for that GDC talk on what happened here. I'll wait for that GDC talk on what happened here, so that I could get a better understanding of this this magic that my eyes are witnessing right now.
It's I know it's 100% like this is probably the game of the show, that what they showed off.
Mm-hmm.
And mental, absolutely mental. Anyway, less about that for now. Oh,
Yeah, we need to-
put
we need to
that on the
stop
back
fantelling
burner
about it.
until we can actually yeah. Oh my god.
These are more, yeah.
So the next one on my list that I had, excuse me, it was a title called Scarlet Nexus, and this is I think it might be an Xbox exclusive. I think it is, but
I believe so. Yes.
yeah, this game looks like a huge next gen version of Astral Chain. That's what I'm getting when I look at it. And Astral Chain was exclusive to the Switch. It was Platinum Games. This is is this Bandai? I can't even remember who this is actually, or is it Square?
Bandai, yeah.
Bandai. So it's got that kind of Astral Chain style, that anime. If you're familiar with like animated movies like Ghost in the Shell or Appleseed or those kind of things, it's obviously capturing that anime look, and it looks amazing. And it is very fast, intense combat. You got obviously magical powers of some kind. I don't really know what the story is just yet, but it's set in this kind of future tech world, but fantasy as well. And man, it looks extremely awesome, just extremely awesome.
Yeah, just just looking at it now, it does remind me a lot of Astral Chain.
Yeah.
Slightly more Astral Chain, but maybe slightly more anime. More anime
Yeah.
actually than Astral Chain.
Yeah.
But that's, oh my god, that the combat looks pretty kind of wild. Like it's okay, two different experiences. see that part right there. So you said a single player story, two different experiences. Instantly, it's throwing me back to Astral Chain.
Yeah.
Right there. But the
I
game
know.
does look pretty well. It's interesting to see how these kind of like anime styled visual, like cell shaded visual games will look on next gen.
Yeah.
In terms of like how it works out, I think a lot of what they've shown is more of like just at this moment in time. I don't recall seeing like a full on like kind of gameplay sequence being shown of like, okay, here's a particular part. We're going to go from A to B. This is what's going to happen. This is what you're going to do. A lot of what we've seen so far is mainly story-based stuff.
Yeah.
So I want to see the big deep dive on this game to like really get hyped for it.
100%. Yeah, they haven't shown like a gameplay breakdown just yet. They've only
because
shown these trailers, essentially, these gameplay trailers, and mixed with cinematics. Not like, okay, you open up in the hub, and we're going to go show how questing works. We're going to go show how crafting works.
yeah,
We're going to go show how the world reacts to you, or powers and upgrades and stuff work. We haven't got that yet. But Callum actually raises a really interesting comment in the chat. Potentially a Souls-like type question mark mixed with Devil May Cry, and that's a really interesting blend there, and it could be.
hmm
It really could be. It seems to have that Devil May Cry, like, fast combo-based combat. Whether it's
it loo-
a Souls-like as well, could be.
it looks like it does have that style. When obviously seeing those kind of big like monsters or bosses would actually make me think that it would have that kind of Souls type gameplay where like you can get absolutely wrecked if you don't like understand what you're fighting, and
Yeah.
like making sure like you learn from your failures and things
Yeah.
like that. But I mean, just having a general look, like the game looks really nice. I think like for coming out on next gen, pushing that kind of anime visual style, it looks really good. I'm just waiting for that deep dive to really just to help me understand what kind of game I'm really playing.
Yeah.
Then we could kind of like put two and two together, and be like, okay, this is what Scarlet Nexus actually is,
Yeah.
and whether or not to get hyped for it.
Yeah. So, question for you, Liban, because you are not really an Xbox guy much at all. You're PlayStation. This is an Xbox exclusive. Is this game on its own, or this game and more games like it? Would that make you want to dive into the Xbox ecosystem, or would you just do the PC route and get it on Game Pass?
Right. So a game like this, probably it's. I'll probably end up getting it on PC Game Pass this way.
Yeah.
I think the thing with me and Xbox is not that I have any problem with Xbox. It's just one of those life instances where I just never had one. That's
Yeah.
literally all it was.
You're a hater. I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
like, but I think obviously now where Xbox, I mean, all right, let's put it this way: if Perfect Dark is a game that I would probably go and get an Xbox for, 100%. One of those games that are, it's coming back. It looks kind of cool so far. It has so much. I'm intrigued by it. I'm hyped for it. Scarlet Nexus. There's already just having the general look right there right now. It's like there's already games like it out at the moment, kind of similar.
Yeah.
Like look like it, play like it. If you're looking for games that play like it, you look at Devil May Cry. If you want games that look like Scarlet Nexus, you have Astral Chain, you have Genshin Impact, you have these other games. So it alone wouldn't make me want to get an Xbox. But games like, the upcoming Halo, the upcoming Fable, Perfect Dark, that would make me want to run out and buy an Xbox.
Yeah.
And to play that specifically. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so as well. And for anybody that doesn't obviously are looking at the hardware, but do have, like, they say, well, why would I get an Xbox hardware when I have a PC and I have a PlayStation 5 for all those epic single player games? That's the incredible thing about Game Pass, is like you just get it on your PC and you've got it.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
you've got access to all of these games and these IPs. And Callum raised an interesting point about Game Pass having, like, for other markets that don't have the hardware necessarily, is the cloud streaming on the app with your phone, with other devices as well. Is that you've got so many ways into that Xbox ecosystem now that it's no longer just about buying the hardware and having that in your living room, on your computer desk, or whatever your setup is. It's really, it's going to be a really fascinating next generation that we go into in the next like 5 years or so, as to what unfolds. What is Sony's counter? Do they need a counter? Do they not? Do they just keep going as they're going, or and Xbox just doing their thing? It's super exciting to be a gamer, though, man. It's wild. All of these things that we've got to mess around with.
I mean, I think with Xbox, it's just a case of now where they're not fussed about where you're playing the games on, as long as you're playing it, and again, you're within their ecosystem.
Yeah.
You know, something like the online streaming, perhaps for individuals like yourself and I, who
Yeah.
maybe are able to access those kind of internet speeds, it won't be a problem. But other parts of the world, no way. Like it's not going to happen. So maybe they'll go out and buy the actual box itself,
Yeah.
or maybe they'll get PC Game Pass instead. But it is interesting. It's two very different strategies.
Yeah.
That before it used to be very similar and they'll compete very closely, but it's almost now like they're not competing at all because they're kind of just going, one chose door A and the other person just chose door B, and that's it.
Yeah.
They're just going to go their own separate ways. But it will be interesting. I think especially we will know how things look better at the end of 2021.
Yeah. Can't wait. Can't wait. So
Cannot wait.
next game that really caught my eye and got us jumping for joy is a title by Turtle Rock Studios. Now, these are the devs that did the travesty in which it never caught on, and it was Evolve, which is a brilliant game, but never took flight at all. It never caught on. It was a marketing mess for their DLC, their season pass, hunting pass, whatever. What the fuck is a hunting pass?
Whatever it was called,
yeah. But it was a brilliant game, and I remember when that first debuted at the Eurogamer Expo EGX a couple of years ago. It was game of the show. Everybody was queuing up. We queued up for I think 3 hours to play this game. We got hands on with it. It was incredible, and we couldn't wait for Evolve to come out. It came out, and it was a disaster, and it just bombed. Like nobody was playing it. Yeah. So this is the return of Turtle Rock, and it is Back for Blood. And I cannot wait for this because for anybody that doesn't know, oh hold on, oh is the stream okay? There we go. Yeah, Turtle Rock Studios are the original devs of Left 4 Dead.
Yes.
So this is a return of Left 4 Dead, pretty much, but designed with a new kind of brand new IP called Back 4 Blood, because obviously Left 4 Dead is owned by Valve. They're not doing a Left 4 Dead 3, so the devs are like, you know what, we're just going to do our own Left 4 Dead 3 and we're going to rebrand it, we're going to control it, and it's now Back 4 Blood. And I can't wait for this. It just looks insane. It looks what everybody wants from a 4-player zombie horde wave-based shooter. And it is basically, for all intents and purposes, the spiritual return of Left 4 Dead.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, speaking of Left 4 Dead, didn't they update that recently or something like that?
There was there was something that dropped, and I can't remember
like
what
10
the
years.
update was. Yeah,
they decided to update the game or something. That's incredible. But yeah, this looks like it could be. This looks like a lot of fun. You know, it's a shame, obviously, with Turtle Rock Studios. You know, like you have really cool ideas like Evolve, and I really liked that game and what it was trying to do. But this is the sad truth about just multiplayer games in general. It's like unless you have that audience there, it's just never gonna take off, because you know, if there aren't people there that want to actually engage in the game, if there aren't people there that, you know, have, you know, X number of friends that could jump on all at the same time and get in a party and play the game, then it doesn't really fulfill its goals or reach its true potential, because it's just not there. And obviously it's not the same when you're playing with just random other people online, because there's no communication, there's no chemistry. It just doesn't, the whole system just falls apart right there and then. So I think that's where it kind of didn't really work out. With Back 4 Blood, I think it's, people know Left 4 Dead, so they can kind of wrap their heads around this one a lot easier. I think what they'll need to do, obviously, because Left 4 Dead is so popular, is really show why people should be like, okay, we know you like Left 4 Dead, but you really want to play Back 4 Blood. You know, just like really go into why it's so different, all the kind of cool stuff you can do, all the different things that can happen. I know the trailer shows a bunch of different like zombie types. Like it had the skinny looking Nemesis at one point. It legit looked like Nemesis just lost a lot of weight. And like you had a massive bloater. If they really need to like nail these in, and what you can do as a group when you play as multiplayer, and all the kind of stuff you could do together as well. But from my perspective, obviously just having a look at it, I'd love to play this with you guys. I think it'd be a lot of fun.
I know. It does look absolutely brilliant. I think wasn't there an actual gameplay. Let's get the actual gameplay trailer up as well, because that was
Yes.
just the cinematic reveal. So, but like you said
Yes.
earlier, it's having that audience, and weirdly enough, the way in which kind of multiplayer games are marketed now, you get
Hmm.
a lot of top Twitch streamers playing it to then push it and advertise
Yeah.
it. Whereas I think when Evolve came out, that wasn't as prevalent as what it is now, and I think that definitely hurt it. And it almost got me thinking: if Evolve was released today, with the kind of expectations of Twitch stream communities pushing it, would it be a much bigger success than what it was? And that is entirely possible that it could have been. It would have got that exposure. You look at games like Among Us that came out in 2017, 2018 to nothing. Like nobody knew about it at all. And it's only this year that people are starting to stream it because it came to
Hmm.
Steam. It's still on
Yeah.
mobile, and it blows up and it wins best, I think, indie title or something like that from, I
Yeah.
know,
It,
or
it
was
won.
that,
It won a few awards at the Game Awards.
yeah, I don't know if it was
Won
indie title. I think that
a
might have been Hades and Supergiant that got that, but it won like the obviously best mobile game. It got like a couple of other awards, and you just think, man, games that maybe have you're thinking they've lost the audience is going to bomb 2 years later can find that audience and be like these huge successes and get like win awards and get the accolades and the appreciation that will find its audience eventually. But I'm hoping that's not the case for Back 4 Blood. I'm hoping it just comes out flying off the shelves and it's immediately got a great like fan base to support it and like advocate for it. There's your skinny
yeah.
nemesis right there, by the looks of
Yeah.
it.
Skinny Nemesis. That giant stone talus. I'm just naming monsters from other
Yeah,
games,
look at
but
this
yeah,
guy. He's got like
that is
plates of concrete all over him.
huge.
Yeah,
And look, he grabs you and you're dead.
I know.
Like
This
that's
looks
incredible.
fan
And
freaking tastic.
you raised a really good point. Like I actually didn't even consider the whole streaming aspect of it and how that popularized certain games that otherwise maybe most people wouldn't have given a second chance.
Yeah,
And it is a very possible that if Evolve came out like even a year ago or
yeah,
2 years ago, it would have had a much better chance at it because there'll be so much people watching top streamers play it with their friends, and then that popularizes it. And not only
yeah,
that, but also just like YouTube videos and streams across all the platforms they have available now.
yeah,
um so it is a real shame, but I'm glad to see that didn't hurt them.
yeah.
They still like stayed in the trenches. They produced now what is Back for Blood, and hopefully they get the push they deserve this time because Evolve was amazing.
Yeah.
So I trust that Back for Blood will be as well.
I think so as well. And it gets me really, really excited, especially because the audiences, gamers, are clamoring for titles which we had hoped would be out by now. And I'm talking specifically about Dead Island 2 and Dying Light 2. These
Yes.
zombie games which can be played co-op or single player, which have been either delayed or are seem to be in development purgatory, where we have no idea like where they are, when they're coming out. And this is now hitting at a time where I think this will fill this void in a different way, but it will fill that void of I want to just kill a whole bunch of zombies with my friends, and I was looking forward to Dead Island 2 for that, or I was looking forward to Dying Light 2 for that. We don't have that, but we have Back for Blood, and this looks like it's going to be a riot of zombie carnage. So, Call of Duty Zombies is probably the most popular mode, so there's always been an audience for it. So,
Yeah. Yeah, I mean they once said that the whole zombie genre or whatever you call it was kind of oversaturated, but I don't think so.
yeah,
I think there's so many cool kind of things they could do with it. Yeah, I mean, most people when they think zombie, they think of a human who got bit, and kind of their faces change slightly.
uh-huh.
But Back for Blood shows that no, they could come out with all sorts of weird, wacky designs.
Yeah.
These you have your basic like, look, that zombie had 4 arms, like, and jumped like a spider. Like
Yeah, I
in
know.
the reveal trailer, it threw out like a little egg or something that
Yeah,
turned into like a trap for the
yeah,
human player. That's
yeah,
pretty
yeah, yeah.
cool.
I know.
You want these enemy types to be so varied and different and have all these different abilities that continue to challenge you as well. So I'm looking forward to Back for Blood. And I think they did it smart the way they kind of spoke about it. They're like, yeah, it's the original guys who made Left 4 Dead, they made Back for Blood. So you have that audience just like, oh, okay, cool. Like it could be a cool game. I'll go try that out. Those of us who are just checking it out now for the first time, be like, yeah, we'll definitely jump into it. It'll be interesting to see how it gets pushed out. It could be that it ends up being it could be that it ends up being free to play. Like who knows?
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
a really
rather than full on
interesting.
release,
Yeah,
it could end up being free to play, so more people could just jump in. You know, as many people as possible play it, have fun, and I can see it doing really well.
yeah. I mean, it looks like it's going to be a bit of a banger. I think actually,
It'll
and
be
not long to wait
great.
as well. June next year, but I think the PC pre-alpha is available in December at some point.
Just
So that's pretty cool. I mean, it looks like it's going to be just a laugh. Like get together with your friends, kill some zombies.
just a giant thing just came out of the ground out of nowhere. Imagine
Yeah,
you're with your team, yeah, you're on your last legs, you're like, okay, we got through this wave, and that thing pops up.
yeah.
You know,
Absolutely mental. Absolutely mental.
it's
Oh
great.
man, I really can't wait for that as well. It's going to be. I mean, we are completely spoiled with all of these games which are coming out. So, oh man, but we've got a couple more to talk about. Actually, one more specifically, and then you can obviously chat about anything that you want to raise specifically as well. But the return of Mass Effect, Liban. We saw the reveal trailer. It was a little tease just to show all the audience around the world that Mass Effect is not dead. It is still alive. And this was just a little tease as to what we're going to maybe get for Mass Effect 4. I'm assuming this is Mass Effect 4. It's not a
Yeah.
sequel to Andromeda. This is the Shepard storyline, but we don't know any details about this just yet. But it's clearly Shepard because we'll see in a little bit of this trailer. Liara Tassoni appears. That's when I totally freaked out. And we see the N7 armor, which is clearly Shepard's armor. I mean, it's a really nice little teaser trailer though. You see that was the Citadel there blown to shit. All this kind of space imagery. It's just very, very cryptic, but there's lots to kind of unpack and try and pick out detail wise. But I have no idea when this is coming out. It's obviously a teaser trailer. This could be like a 2022-23 game quite easily. I have no idea.
I would say maybe 22 at the earliest.
Yeah.
Disclaimer, first and foremost, I've only played bits and pieces of Mass Effect in general.
Okay.
Like when they announced the edition, which had 1, 2, and 3 in it.
The is that the new remaster that's coming?
Yes. So
Yeah.
that will be me for a couple of months. You know,
Yeah.
you might not hear from me. Just gonna knuckle down and play that. But yes. So they're looking at the armor. There was this shot of that that female character, the blue one,
Liara Tassoni. Yep.
I know. All right. So Liara, yep. So she I think she was picking up. What was she picking up from the ground?
It's a piece of Shepard's armor. It had N7
Armor,
on
yeah.
it, which is his armor.
It makes me think that they're looking for Shepard in
Yeah.
Mass Effect 4. It could be, that's just a general kind of look understanding from me. It looks like they might be going around the galaxy actually looking for Shepard this time. So I don't think you'll be actually playing as Shepard in this game. It'll be a different character, maybe closely related to Shepard. You might be playing as one of the previous characters looking for Shepard.
That'd be really interesting, actually. I've now got this image in my head of Shepard being like an old crotchety hermit like Luke Skywalker in Episode 9, off on an island drinking blue milk, and then you've got to find his location. You're basically the raid character trying to find Shepard.
Yeah. So here she is. So she just flew down to this planet. Maybe she got some information that he was Shepard was here at some point, and or maybe So I think you might actually end up playing as her. To be fair, and you're looking for Shepard.
I would freaking love that. I would love
Yeah.
to play as Liara Tassoni because she is a fan favorite of mine for sure.
Yeah.
She, if I'm not going to go into it because you haven't played the original trilogy, Liban. I'm not going to say anything spoilery about it. But Mass Effect 2 had an expansion pack on the 360 called The Lair of the Shadow Broker. That won't mean anything to you just yet, but when you're playing Mass Effect 2, and even Mass Effect 1, Shadow Broker is referred to as a character, a shady character. And then when you get to that expansion pack, it is the best expansion pack of a video game I have ever played.
Oh wow. Okay.
It is so good because it does exactly what an expansion pack should do, and it expands on threads that are hinted at in previous games, and then it gives this full blown expansion experience with it, and brings back some characters and gives more insight into other characters that are hinted at in Mass Effect 1 and Mass Effect 2. And I can only assume that all of that DLC is going to get packaged up as a bundle for the trilogy remaster whenever that's coming out. But
Yeah. I mean,
if we get to
ideally,
finally play as Liara, oh, so good, so good.
ideally, that's what you want an expansion pack to do.
Yeah.
Just to wrap everything up in a nice, with a nice little bow.
Yeah.
Tying up all storylines.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, but I think just for me, just looking at the trailer from an outside perspective and just some of the details you're giving me, that's the conclusion I come to.
Yeah.
You're actually looking for Shepard, and you might play as her.
Yeah.
Or they might have shown her, particularly because, as you mentioned, she's a pretty popular character.
Yeah.
So people. But then again, if you show Shepard, people would be just as hyped.
They
right?
totally
So
would. They absolutely would.
I
Yeah.
show her and not Shepard instead. So, which makes me think that there's a bigger narrative happening there.
Mass
regarding
Effect
Shepard.
2, man.
Yeah.
Mass Effect 2 is a game that is so beloved as really the best in the series.
Mm-hmm.
But BioWare's ability to create characters, a cast of characters that fans are so precious of and fall so in love with, and they're so well written. I don't want to obviously mention any because you haven't played Mass Effect, but Morden was probably my favourite, and you'll experience him when your time comes. But it's filled with others. I mean, even the Dragon Age series, of which Dragon Age 4 was teased as well. I'm not familiar enough with Dragon Age to really talk about that, but I'm familiar with some of the characters, and I know how beloved they are. And BioWare, when they're on it, when they fucking nail it, they can create some incredible characters and some incredible relationships and stories. And Mass Effect for me was the pinnacle of that. And that Mass Effect always felt like the true evolution of Knights of the Old Republic. Because Knights of the Old Republic 1 was from BioWare, and then it's got that similar kind of structure, that party system and everything. But then they took it to the Xbox 360. They had a brand new engine. It looked phenomenal. And it was everything Star Wars apart from Jedis and lightsabers and the Force, but everything else was Star Wars, pretty much. And that was the magnetism of Mass Effect. And I hope they can bring that feeling back for Mass Effect 4 or Andromeda 2 or whatever this is going to be. But,
in that case, obviously you speak so passionately about it, and I feel it. So the question, so then in that case, what went wrong with 3? In this case, that when they went from 1 and they went to 2, I was like, whoa, it's amazing.
Here's the thing. So Mass Effect 3 for me was incredible.
Okay.
It was incredible because it was giving you the payoff of all of the decisions you'd made in the first 2 games, and they were coming to fruition in the 3rd game. All of those relationships that I had forged from Mass Effect 1 all the way through into the 3rd game were coming to fruition. And it was incredible to see that these decisions that I had made in Mass Effect 1 were getting referenced in some way, whether they were high impact or low impact, didn't really matter. But they were referenced there. So the big story moments in Mass Effect 1 were getting referenced in Mass Effect 3, and it was incredible. The tiny, kind of almost insignificant moments in Mass Effect 1 and Mass Effect 2 were also getting referenced, and those choices were getting brought through into Mass Effect 3, and it was incredible. And I loved Mass Effect 3 right up until the final 10-15 minutes, which was such garbage. And that is why That is why Mass Effect 3 has such stigma to it.
Yeah.
And you'll find out why when you eventually get to play it. Because it ultimately came down to make a choice of 3 choices at the very end of the game to get the ending you kind of want.
Yeah.
And that felt like a slap in the face from all of the decisions I had crafted since Mass Effect 1 and 2 and then into 3. It was already giving me all those decisions paying off. And then it does this thing at the end where you have to make a 1, 2, or 3 decision. And I fucking hated that. And that was what left the bad taste in my mouth for Mass Effect 3. But up until that point, maybe like 40, 50 hours of that game I played, I think that was roughly the length of it. I think you can play you could obviously fill that out. I think there was a multiplayer mode as well, which was actually really good. But everything up until then, I thought this is the perfect finale to this trilogy. It is so incredible to seeing these characters in Mass Effect 1, how they've evolved and how they've grown into something that is so core to their story arc in Mass Effect 3 was incredible. And I still stand by that. But then you get to the very end and it's just this scene at the end, this kind of encounter at the end is just shit, to be honest. And they did try and fix it with some DLC, like much later on, which I'm sure will be bundled up as well. But that was the only kind of real bit about Mass Effect 3, which leaves that horrible taste in your mouth. Because up until then, it is damn near perfect. It is damn near perfect in terms of its narrative threads really paying off, and it's just a shame that's the kind of the thing that people latch onto is this bit at the very, very end where you're thinking, really, that's what it comes down to. But up until then, like the previous 50 hours were incredible, absolutely incredible. So,
yeah, I think the key word there is, I think the key word there as well, especially, is trilogy. You know, because you spoke about obviously everything comes to a clash in Mass Effect 3. It wraps it all up, which makes me assume in Mass Effect 4 they go in a different direction completely. You know, because if 3 ended that storyline, then 4 is going to start something completely different.
Could do, yeah. I mean, Andromeda was supposed to be the start of a new trilogy, but because that kind of bombed, then it's now in purgatory as well. We have no idea if an Andromeda continuation is actually going to happen, which is a real shame. Because if you go back and play Andromeda now, it's they fixed everything. They patched it for the 1X at the time, so graphics look amazing on the 1X. It's just a real shame that it came out. It was in a bit of a buggy state. People, we were getting laughed at for facial animations and for weird like characters that walk as if they're crouched, and a lot of bugs. And it also came out in a year when Horizon Zero Dawn had come out. It was post Witcher 3. Witcher 3 came out in 15. This was in 17. So the expectations of open worlds had changed because Witcher had come and gone.
Yeah.
The same year, Breath of the Wild had just came out like 10 days before, or roughly there. So it's in this position where they tried to capture the feeling of the original Mass Effect trilogy, but the expectation of open world games was getting moved forward by The Witcher, by Horizon Zero Dawn, by Breath of the Wild. And Andromeda was kind of like, oh shit, we did one, like we did an Xbox 360 game, but with newer graphics and more bugs. Sorry guys, but which is a real shame because the writing in that game is actually fantastic and the characters are really good as well. It's really strong BioWare characters, and they did something really interesting with the narrative. You basically have to terraform these planets to create a new civilization. So there's a lot of things there which could have been fantastic and a new start, but there's a lot of issues, and then compound that with the audience that it has been dropped into as well with Breath of the Wild, the peers of open world games at the time. It just got hammered, which is a real shame because it is a worthy Mass Effect game, but it just came out in not a good state.
Yeah,
which is a real shame.
Probably not a good time either.
Yeah. So, whoo, that's a good chat. So shall we now move into our into our Cyberpunk Impressions deep dive.
Cyberpunk.
Levan. Cyberpunk!
Cyberpunk.
So, oh my goodness. Oh, where to start with Cyberpunk? Seriously, I've been playing it pretty much since the midnight launch. I stayed up. I got a few hours sleep, but I played it out at midnight. And I chose to go the Nomad class because I wanted
Okay.
I wanted the Fast and Furious like backstory. You know, I'm like I'm a desert born kind of thing.
All
I'm
about the family. Gotcha.
bit of a road warrior, all about family, and yeah. So I picked a Nomad, and so let's get the cyber elephant out of the room. This is not the game that we should have got. And what I
No.
mean by that is, I know that sounds like a loaded phrase. I'm just talking about the presentation in terms of the graphics and the like the bugs. The everything else, the writing, the characters, the world of Night City, the way in which it organically feeds you missions and you're exploring the world is incredible. It is absolutely incredible. And for that, I am absolutely loving the game. But it is so blurry. It is so soft. It is so filled with bugs that I'm overlooking that to get into what I'm enjoying about the game, and that is the story. It is the characters. It is being able to hack people. It is the gun mechanics. It's the driving mechanics. They are all fantastic. But the game just looks like at times like a PlayStation 3, Xbox 360 era game. It can look really rough, but then you'll get moments where the game can look really good. Now, for full disclosure, I'm playing this on Xbox Series X, and it's not the Xbox Series X version. The PlayStation 5 version, the Series X versions, they are not out yet. They're coming at some point next year. We don't know when, but I really hope that they get them out soon. What we're getting today is essentially the last generation version for PS4, for Xbox One, playable via the backward compatibility on the new systems now because of those new systems, you are getting a bit of a performance bump. So the SSD means the loading is super fast, so that's great. You're getting a little bump in like frame rate performance, a little bit of bump in graphical performance, but it's still a backward compatible title. And because of that, it can be extremely disappointing for anybody expecting this is the future of open world games, the future of technology which can be done with video games. And if you have a PlayStation 4 base or a Pro console or an Xbox One base or One X Pro console, I would say do not go near this game. It is just a travesty of tech and bugs and potato mode. I've seen footage of that, and you've seen footage of that as well. But I'm playing on Series X, and it can actually look really good. For the most part, it can look really good, and for the most part, it runs really well. And what is interesting is the Series X has a quality mode and a performance mode, whereas right now the PlayStation 5 does not have a quality mode. It only has a performance mode, which is really bizarre. So I'm playing on quality mode on the Series X, and it can actually look really nice at times. For like the majority of the time, it can actually look really good. But it's capped at 30. It feels pretty stable at 30. So therefore, my experience is actually really good. And you're getting a little bump in graphical quality as well. But it's not anywhere near the PC experience, which is what we're all expecting for these next-gen consoles.
It's not even close.
It's not even close. So what I'm actually going to do is, as we're talking about it, I'm actually going to play some PC footage, because this is what we should be getting, folks. This is what we should be getting.
This is the Cyberpunk I expected.
Yeah.
You know.
So when the proper next-gen version comes out, I'm expecting it to be damn near close to this. And it's not anywhere near there yet, but it does look good. That's the thing. I don't want to like crap on it like crazy, because it can look really good. Yeah. But it does feel like a last generation game that shouldn't have come to last generation. Now,
I think, just speaking on Cyberpunk, and I obviously the disappointment is, it's completely understandable, considering the game was announced back in 2013, and there's a storied history behind this game's development. You know, this game's been a long time coming for
Yeah.
some people. You know, between this game's development time, kids have become adults, literally.
Yeah. Yeah.
Literally, yeah. Like, yeah, we've become older people. So it's like the disappointment is so understandable. You know, it's especially when they've hyped it up so much. They've given so much expectation
Yeah.
on what the game is and what it can be. And I think maybe where they could have fallen short is, there's nothing wrong with having a vision,
Yeah.
but then there's a difference between, what is doable and what is a bit too much,
Yeah.
And I think
100%.
that's the case with Cyberpunk, where, the game, just based on what they've shown and the environments and the characters and the things you can do and all the different factions, and like there's so much to this game. It's crazy.
Yeah.
And I think with that type of vision, that was only really possible in a high quality state with the PC version.
Yes.
Um,
Yeah.
because obviously playing games on PC, there's just many more options to do loads of different things.
Yeah.
Where console, you're locked down to specific architecture. You need to work within those boundaries.
Yeah.
Personally, when the game started getting more promotional material with the Night City wires and etc., I didn't really see this running on base hardware.
Yeah.
It didn't make sense to me. It's like,
There's no way. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
no way. It doesn't work. Like, you want the game to be this. That's not going to work on a base PS4, which I also have as well. So I think it's like I think essentially they just tried to, they did The Witcher 3, everyone loved it, and they just tried to overachieve again. In some cases, they really didn't need to, but I get it. Just obviously as creatives, you always want to put out, you don't want to just hit the line, you want to go right above it, know, and I think that's where Cyberpunk got hit really hard, especially when it came to delays, and then it came to, everything surrounding crunch and all of that stuff. And I think that's where it kind of dropped, where the PC version, like, development's going smooth because they could do whatever the hell they want.
Yeah.
It's not have any problems. But when it comes to the console version, I think it's difficult because I can't really just say that, they should have dropped the base versions, because they announced it at a time where the base versions just came out, literally just came out.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what's so heartbreaking about it for anybody who had pre-ordered this on PlayStation 4 expecting like a really good experience. At a minimum, the visual quality of Witcher 3, like at a minimum base, you're expecting that. And then you get something that looks just so bad on base PlayStation 4, base Xbox One, it's a travesty. And I think it's going to do serious damage to the reputation of CD Projekt Red. I mean, we're looking at max level PC footage here. This is the Digital Foundry analysis, which is stunning. And
it looks incredible. Yeah,
and they put up a spec sheet at the beginning of their video, and you can see what I think it was John at Digital Foundry that was doing this analysis. He was rocking an RTX 3090 for this. And that graphics card is way over £1,000.
yeah.
I know he had put together a PC for the best possible Cyberpunk experience, and it shows. It looks incredible. It's very clearly this is where graphics tech is. This is the future of graphics tech for sure, because it looks incredible. But the fact that they had to rein it in so much for base hardware, it's just not even worth putting it out on that. And it's such a shame, because you can't say, okay, we're now going to pull it from base, from last generation consoles, when an install base of 100 million consoles are out there. But it is a game where it's Crisis all over again.
Oh yes,
right.
Yeah.
This is the Crisis. Like, can your machine run it? Can it run Crisis? Can it run Cyberpunk? And I honestly feel that CD Projekt should have only ever announced it for PC first, and then next year bring it to the Series X, PlayStation 5, and say, look, it's just way too demanding for hardware of, which is 7-8 year old hardware now for the base
Yeah,
consoles.
absolutely. And with I mean, to be fair, and I guess not to be fair, actually. Obviously, The Witcher 3 came out with a lot of problems as well. And
It
in
did.
the long term, that got fixed. So that's
Yes.
not to say that CD Projekt Red, by Feb 2021, that Cyberpunk will be running exactly as it was supposed to. Um, but again, it's like the problem here is that the game was announced or revealed. It went dark for such a long time until
Yeah.
maybe about the previous year or so when things started ramping up
Yeah.
again. Every Night City wire they showed was all PC footage.
Of course. Yeah.
So that just raised expectations immensely.
Yeah.
Console footage they showed weeks before launch or
Yeah.
supposedly.
Yeah.
So pretty close to when people actually wanted to start playing the game.
Yeah.
So I think just all of it's just been a bit of a mess. Like, yes, I believe just like with The Witcher, they will eventually have it all fully optimized, working to the experience that they did expect. But I think just their development cycle was a bit of a mess. They maybe tried to go too big on their vision
Yeah.
with the game, and that obviously in turn impacted the hardware they were trying to release it on.
Yeah.
So many little different bits and pieces. And
Yeah.
obviously, in their instance as well, the game was delayed, what, twice? Twice, yeah.
It was only twice. Okay. Yeah, because they never had a release date until they announced it for this year, and then it got delayed twice this year.
Yeah, so I think it was supposed to come out in April or something like that.
Yeah.
Then they moved it to November, and then
Yep.
they moved it to December. So it was delayed as well on top of that. And obviously I honestly think that it came to a point where they're like, okay, we want to do X, Y, and Z, so let's just delay it, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then they came to another point. It was like, okay, we're going to do X, Y, and Z. Let's just delay it. Instead of just like, okay, we're going to cap it here because we actually need to put out the best experience we can on time. So now what's happened is that they have their fingers in so many pies at once that they aren't able to get all the pies tasting as amazingly as each other. So, so now they released all their pies, and some of their pies taste like crap, which is unfortunate. Some of the pies taste like crap. Some of the pies taste like amazing pies.
Yeah.
And obviously, just because of the way the business works, and investors pressurizing them, and them having to hit certain numbers during specific quarters,
Yeah.
the game had to come out. Bugs and all. Like, it did not matter. I'm assuming according to the higher ups, this is the last time the game needs to come out because these are the numbers we need to hit during these specific quarters. This needs to be done. So from a business aspect as well, it didn't help him out either.
Yeah. Totally.
So
totally.
just the whole thing has been a huge mess.
It's a thing where we don't typically like to put so much emphasis on like the graphics make a game good. We try to kind of not go down that rabbit hole, but for a game like this, it is so visually powerful, so visually striking that to get something which, I mean, look at the reflections in this freaking glass here.
Amazing.
So that's your high-end ray tracing reflections going on there. To not have something that is so eye-poppingly beautiful as an opening salvo to, this is next generation gaming, guys. This is the future of not just CD Projekt Red's open world technology, but also this is what open worlds can be. This is what open worlds can deliver for next generation.
Absolutely.
And all the systemic stuff within the game is so good. I'm playing a lot of side stuff. I'm playing the main stories, and the way in which it's all delivered to you is fantastic. But I am looking at the game thinking it looks like I'm playing an old game. Visually, it looks like an old game. And it's broken as shit as well. I've had so many bugs where dialogue prompts would stay on the screen, and they would and the dialogue would progress, but the dialogue prompt would still be on the screen, and I can even still select it, even when other dialogue prompts that are supposed to appear later in the mission are cascading downward to progress the mission, but the top dialogue option to start the mission is still there. So I clicked on that mid mission, and it did this really weird like rewind during the game to like to the start of the mission. But then characters that had already delivered their lines of dialogue, or they brought an object into the room as part of that mission, had it flowed, that had already been done, but the main people had rewound to the start of the mission.
Okay.
And it was so weird and so broken. But I just reloaded the checkpoint, and it fixed everything, and that tends to do it quite a lot. You just reset a checkpoint. But again, it's these things that are broken that break the immersion, because you are very easily drawn into this world and you're fully immersed in it. And then something happens that completely breaks, and then you think, oh, I'm not in Night City, I'm in my room playing this game. And it's just so frustrating and disappointing. But saying that, I love the story so far. I love the writing. The quality of the writing is really high so far. It's really entertaining. I am constantly engaged with the characters and the world, and that's why I'm constantly playing it. But I wish I was getting this experience, is the thing, and I really do. But I will also say a big shout out to the first person mode. So the game is entirely first person, and people pre-release were saying, well, what's the point of that? What's the point of having a great character customization if I never see my character? And I will say to that, there are moments where you can easily see your character. There's obviously like photo mode where you can bring the camera out, you can see your full character. There's moments in the game where you can just like look in a mirror, you see your character. But I stand by the first person mode for everything, because there's no cinematics in this game. It is all entirely first person viewpoint, all playing out in real time. So there's never a break. And because of that, characters are always talking directly at you, but you could be looking around at other things, and what would normally be a cinematic moment, you could be like looking around in real time. You've got full control of your character, and it's all playing out, and you can look directly at them, you can look around a scene, and it is immersive in a way that very few RPGs have been able to get me as immersed for the dialogue and stuff. And I'm really, really enjoying it at the end of the day. For all its flaws, for all its broken bits, for all its at times potato graphics, you'll get a flash of brilliance. You're thinking, oh my god, this is so good. And a lot of that comes down to the writing and the way the NPCs react to you. My nomad kid, when I first got to Night City, I had an apartment. I left my apartment for the first time, and it was a bit of a time jump from the very opening of the game to me being in Night City. So I'm obviously, like, flash forward 6 months, I'm a bit of a mover and shaker within my local apartment complex of crime and stuff like that. And I walked out of my apartment, and NPCs were like shouting my name, and like they knew me, and they were talking to me like a character, not like a typical NPC bot that you typically get in video games. So there's this level of craft and immersion which is fantastic, but it's just so broken at the moment as well, which is really a really shame. But I'm so enjoying it despite all of this, and it ultimately comes down to how much do bugs really bother you. Can you overlook a lot of stuff to still find what you love about a game and still persevere, or should you just like not touch it until the proper optimized next gen version comes out? And I can see that recommendation being a really strong recommendation for a lot of people. It's like, don't touch it until the next gen version comes out. I'm still going to keep playing it because I'm really enthralled by the mechanics of the game, by the writing of the game, by the characters, by the way in which you pick up jobs and you go investigate the world. And oh my god, the shooting mechanics in this game are, for an RPG, the shooting mechanics are really strong. They're like
Nice.
they're really like snappy. You know how usually like if it's an RPG, shooting is usually a bit garbage,
Yeah.
but in this game it feels really good. It's not like Call of Duty like FPS controls, but it is. It's if the weapon sounds are so beefy, and the hit detection of the characters is really good. The snappiness of aiming down sights and shooting and moving feels really good. It is quite accomplished in that regard, and driving feels great as well. The cars have some good physics there. They're a little bit floaty, but they feel like they've got weight to them, which I love. I was playing Watch Dogs Legion for a little bit a couple of weeks ago, and the vehicle mechanics in that game are straight up garbage because the cars are so light, and it just feels horrible to control. Whereas Cyberpunk, the car mechanics, the vehicle mechanics are really good. I'm really enjoying just driving around Night City and seeing the sights and seeing all these neon lights and just trying to learn the city. So in that regard, what they've crafted is something quite incredible, but it's so broken, and it should look way better than this. And that is the problem with it. It's this yin and yang of all this great stuff, but man, there's all of this really bad stuff as well. So it's a tough recommendation for anybody. I would say if you're on base hardware, don't go near it. If you're or last gen, any of the last gen machines, just don't touch this game. It's not for those systems. It's just not.
Not until they fix it, at least.
Well, I don't even know how much they can actually fix. Is the problem, because it's so ambitious. There's only going to be so much that 7-year, 8-year-old hardware can actually do. And the fact that they don't have these high-end SSD hard drives to stream in the world, I just don't know if it's going to be possible to deliver this at anywhere near what's expected for base hardware.
Yeah, it's a real tough one, because I know for me especially, if I was to play a game like this and things were breaking left and right, it would 100% ruin it for me. I would not jump back in. But and obviously, like you mentioned, obviously rightly so, that everything should be working as it is. So, I mean, why should you have to restart a checkpoint for the game to do what it's supposed to do? And I think and I'm not like making up excuses for CD Projekt Red, but I think just the whole development cycle just didn't allow them the time necessary to really jump in and sort these bugs out.
I think so. And 2020, the pandemic as well, this year, it does strike me that they should have just, like, when they delayed it for the second time this year by a month, they should at that point they should have just said, look, it's not coming out this year. It's just impossible. We're delaying it, or just focus purely, like, release the PC version. Just say, okay, we're going to release a PC version this year, and we just need more time to deliver on those other consoles. Because I mean, there's 6 console platforms they need to code for, and 4 of which are all, like, there's 2 versions of PlayStation 4, there's 2 versions of Xbox One, then there's PlayStation 5, and then there's Xbox Series X, actually 7, and then there's Xbox Series S as well. So there's 7 console platforms. They should have just said, okay, it's coming to consoles summer next year, summer 2021, and it'll be what you've seen or close to what you've seen. And right now it is, we're really pushing PC hardware, but we just need more time for those other consoles. And it's a shame for anybody who bought this on launch day for their base Xbox One S, which is like the worst performer, expecting something that does look reasonably sharp at the very least, and they've got something which is just pretty horrific. I really feel for those gamers.
It's a shame, because this was supposed to be that game, It's supposed to be the game. That was like, Joe, this is the next, especially after The Witcher 3, right? And considering that considering what happened with that, and and obviously they did all the free DLC, eventually that turned out to be one of the best games that they've done. right? You know, and the one thing I don't really understand with these devs, right? When they create games like this and they have a game where it does come out and there are issues, right?
Yeah.
That they don't try to reset and refocus and ensure that doesn't happen on their next release.
Yeah.
But essentially, the same things happened again,
Yeah.
which really confuses me, you know, and
It's frustrating for sure.
it's incredibly frustrating. I think, obviously, I'm sure the devs are just as frustrated
Yeah.
that the game is not up to snuff. But, you know, and yeah, they possibly could have just delayed it again, to the dismay of a lot of people who are super excited about it. But for a game like Cyberpunk 2077, I personally believe that no matter when it comes out, people are still going to buy it. Like, regardless, people are still going to be super hyped about it.
Yeah.
I think it's just a real shame because this was supposed to be the 10 out of 10 game,
Yeah.
the marquee CD Projekt Red game,
Yeah.
the game that they touted for a decade. Probably, like, when we saw it, it was about 8 years, but probably
8
well
years
over
ago.
a decade.
Yeah. Yeah.
And unfortunately, it just didn't reach that heights. But hopefully, you know, within the next 12 months, they fix the game, they fix the visual issues, they fix the mechanics, the next gen versions come out as well. And I'm sure they're going to throw a whole bunch of free DLC and stuff. It will get back up to that point.
Yeah.
But it should never have been at the low point to begin with.
No, exactly. 100% agree, man. And for all of those problems that I've mentioned, I'm still really enjoying the game. That is
Yeah.
testament to like all the other parts that I'm focusing on. When
Absolutely.
when you just think, oh my god, why does it look so soft? Why is the image just not so pin sharp? Especially
Yeah,
when you, and I know you can't compare developers. You just
yeah, of
can't.
course.
But when you see something like Red Dead Redemption 2 playing on last gen machines, that game is a technical powerhouse.
Yes.
And I know the technology is totally different. I understand that. And what CD Projekt Red are pushing technology wise with this game is technology that is geared for the next generation, like the future tech. And it's just a shame that as we said, it's like crunch time investment for specific platforms has just not been there. That's what I think, which is a real travesty because when you're running around, when the game is really clicking, it is heading close to that 10 out of 10 experience. I'm thinking, my God, this is the Blade Runner game I'd be hoping for.
Oh, God, yeah.
It's like Deus Ex, it's Blade Runner, it's
Absolutely.
the Cyberpunk experience, future world, hacking people, hacking different like technology. The upgrades for your character are awesome, but there's so much broken with it, and it's just a real travesty. But I'm really loving the story. I'm loving so much about it, despite of all of these flaws. But it's just such a shame that this is the way it launched, and this is what people are talking about. We're talking about everything that is wrong with it, the condition of the game, rather than like everything that is so spectacular about the game. And it's a real shame because of that. A real shame.
It is, because it should be much better than that. And I would just say, obviously, in this case, that, you know, fact of the matter is, like, even if you are going to be playing the game now, you're still going to enjoy it regardless, right? You're still going to have fun with the game. If you can't wait, then just jump right in. You're still going to have good fun. Once things get fixed up, you know, you have those different life paths. You could always start a different one on your next playthrough and re-experience that again for the first time.
Yeah.
But as mentioned before, if it's something you can wait on until some more fixes are in place, till the game's running better, or even until the next gen patches are ready,
Yeah.
then wait it out.
Yeah, 100%. And also do check out the Digital Foundry videos properly in your own time. That's what we've got playing in the background here. Their deep dive analysis of this is the PC version maxed out, but they've also got specifically PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 4 Pro videos up on their channel, and they're going to be doing like the Xbox Ones and the next gen system analysis as well. So check that stuff out as well, because it is, in a situation like this, is incredibly vital to really get an understanding of what you're getting when you buy the game.
Yes, absolutely. Yes, it's best to see it first to avoid disappointments. At the very least, if you see it and you still want to get it, then you know what to expect.
Exactly. So, oh man, that was an awesome show. Episode 21 of the Weekend Catch-Up Club, Liban. Thank you for hanging out with me yet again. giving some fantastic insight into those gameplay trailers which we saw at the Video Game Awards, and just having great banter with my bro. It's always a great Saturday morning when that happens.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me back, man. This is always a good one. It's always good to talk video games with you, because we have very differing opinions. So it's always interesting to hear what you have to say about certain things.
It's true.
No, it's always it's true. It's always a good one. I would say, just as a final note, do check out. There was this one trailer I saw at the Game Awards. It's for a game called Season.
Oh yes.
Its art style reminds me of a Ghibli film. It reminds me of a Ghibli film crossed with Breath of the Wild, but at a higher quality version than what you saw on Breath of the Wild on Nintendo Switch.
Yeah.
It just looked jolly. It's so striking. Literally the first shot that trailer shows, and you see like the artwork, I'm just like, wow, what is this?
There's a lot of
stuff.
other games that we haven't obviously talked about which got shown off.
Yeah.
That one, absolutely agree with you. It looked so beautiful. But there was also that new title by Joseph Fares that looks really interesting. That it's the 2-player game. It looks like super fantasy. That looks really good as well. I can't remember the name of that though.
So much stuff. There was the Callisto Protocol.
Yes.
From the Dead Space devs.
We got new footage of Returnal from Housemarque as well.
There was this one game called Century Age of Ashes that caught me. It was like dogfights but with dragons.
Yes.
They looked epic.
It looked like Panzer Dragoon or something, right?
Exactly. I was like, whoa. There's so much we could have talked about, guys. But certain amount of time. We'd be here all day.
So everybody, thank you for tuning in again. Take care, and I will see you next week for the last weekend catch-up club of the year. So it's going to be a little bit of a roundup of our favorite games this year. Maybe even a little bit of a farewell to the generation show as well. We can maybe do that. But anyway, take care, everybody, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.